Hi dear students, hope that all of you are keeping fine. In the last chapter, that means chapter 12, we had seen the First World War. There we had seen or we learned about the causes, events, treaties and the formation of League of Nations. And in this chapter, chapter 13, we are going to see the rise of dictatorships and the rise of dictatorship in Europe after the First World War. And we had seen some of the results or the treaties made after the First World War. And it was almost against Germany. And the treaties concluded that Germany was the only culprit for the entire First World War. So Germany felt humiliated, and at the same time, on the other hand, Italy also felt so bad and they were not so happy with the conditions made after the First World War during the Treaty of Versailles. So from these two countries, two important dictators originated. The first one, it is from Italy, it was Mussolini, and from Germany it was Hitler. And there were many causes for the origin or the rise of dictatorship in Europe, especially in Germany and Italy. And dictator, you may be knowing the meaning of dictator. Dictator is the person who is having the entire control over the country, and he obtained that power by using the force. That is the dictator. So from that you got an idea, I hope. Dictator, so Hitler or Mussolini in Italy, they were having the absolute control or power over the country, and they gained that power by using force. So here in this chapter we are going to deal with the causes of the rise of dictatorship and their policies. In page number 208, the reasons for the rise of dictatorship in Europe, especially in Germany and Italy, is given in a simple way. That is, the political and economic instability prevailing in countries like Italy and Germany after the First World War led to the rise of dictatorship in those countries of Europe. So you understood what was the main reason. It was the political and economic instability prevailing in European countries, especially in Germany and Italy after the First World War. And the dictatorial governments destroyed democracy. So the dictatorship, it was totally against the democracy, and you know what is the meaning of democracy. In democracy people got more power. So in dictatorship, people, they don't have any power. A single person has got a power and he has got the absolute control over the country. And in Italy under Benito Mussolini became the fascist state, and Germany under Hitler was converted into a Nazi dictatorship. Both Nazism and Fascism had certain common features. So two ideologies emerged after the First World War. That was Fascism in Italy and Nazism in Germany. And the Nazism, it was promoted by Hitler, and Fascism was promoted by Benito Mussolini. So now we are going to see what is Fascism and what is Nazism. The word Fascism means, it is originated from the term fascis, which in Italian language means a bundle of rods with a protruding axe. Protruding means extending from something. Okay, so here the axe is extending from the rod of the bundle of rods. Okay, you just go see the picture given, and there you can understand an axe is extending from a bundle of rods. So that is the meaning. So here, what is the meaning? The bundles or the rods, the bundles of rods, it represents the people, and the axe, it represents the dictator or the person who has got the control or power. And it symbolizes the authority and power of the ancient Roman consuls. The consuls means the highest powerful person in the country, the one who is elected. So here the axe, the protruding axe or the extending axe, that represents the absolute controlling person. So that is why they had taken this as the symbol. Fascism can be defined as an intensely nationalistic, that means a blind patriotistic or following a blind nationalism, and anti-communistic against the communistic ideas, and anti-democratic, the power to the people, they were against that such a kind of system, and anti-intellectualistic movement. So this is the definition for fascism. It put emphasis on the totalitarian system of government. In totalitarian system of government, people don't have any power. The state has got the power and people don't have any kind of power. And fascism puts stress on the cult of the leader or hero who would attain mass support through inspiring speech. Cult of leader, cult of means the people started to believe a particular thing or particular person regarding a particular thing or particular event or particular person as highest thing. So here cult of leader who can inspire the people by good speeches. And the fascist allowed cruel treatment of opponents. Military strength and violence played a vital role in the fascist pattern of government. The military strength and the violence, it was the main thing which played a vital and important role in the fascist government. And the second ideology which originated in Germany, it was Nazism, and it was promoted by Hitler. Nazi movement flourished in Germany under the leadership of Hitler. Nazism can be defined as fascism and racialism. So it has got the features of fascism. One more thing is added in Nazism, that is racialism. Racialism here considering German race or the Aryan race as something superior to all other races, and considering all other races as something inferior. And the Jews were hated and tortured under the Nazi reign. So here the Jews, their race was considered as something inferior and they were tortured during the reign of Nazism, as the Jewish were non-Aryans and they were regarded as inferiors. It was preached that the Jews were destined to become the slaves of Germans. Okay, that was a teaching prevailed in Germany. The Jews were destined to become the slaves of Germans. And the Nazi party declared that the state was supreme and the interest of the state and the interest of the individuals are the would come second to the interest of the state. So earlier we had seen the totalitarian government. In totalitarian government, people don't have any power, but the absolute control is with the state. So here, according to Nazism, people don't have any power and the state has got more power. And they declared the state was supreme and the interest of the state was something very supreme and the interest of the individuals would come second to the interest of the state. All classes of the society must be restored national pride. So a kind of blind nationalism. Nazism promoted a kind of blind nationalism and racism. The Nazi glorified wars. Besides, the Nazi hated communists. They preferred to rule by using force. So it was also something against the democratic pattern of government or the communistic pattern of government. It was totally against the control for the people. One person has got absolute control over the state or country, and it gives more importance to the state rather than the individuals, those who are living in the country. So that is the fascism and Nazism. So the reason for the origin of fascism or Nazism in Germany and Italy, in European countries, the reason was the political and economic instability prevailing in Europe after the First World War. And fascism originated in Italy under Mussolini, and Nazism was originated in Germany under Hitler. And these two ideologies had certain common features. So now we will see the causes for the rise of fascism and Nazism. So what was the reasons for the rise of such kind of ideologies? The first one, it was the dissatisfaction over the Treaty of Versailles. So we had seen the Treaty of Versailles after the First World War. In the Treaty of Versailles, the Germany was considered as the culprit for the entire calamities for the First World War. So why it is considered as the reason for the rise of dictatorship in Germany and Italy? So first of all, Italy entered the First World War on the side of the Allied powers. So first we had seen that Italy was with Germany, but later during the World War they changed and they joined with Britain, France and Russia. And in the hope of gaining colonies to expand her territory. Why Italy joined with this victorious side or with France, Britain or Russia? They aim to expand its colonies. But after the treaty or after the First World War, its demands were not fulfilled. Okay, but her ambition was not fulfilled. And besides, she lost nearly 7 lakhs of soldiers. So that was the dissatisfaction from the side of Italy. So they were having certain demands. That was the reason they joined with the victorious side. Then also their demands did not fulfill. So on the other side, Germany, on the other hand, felt humiliated in by the unjust treaty clauses were imposed on him. Okay, so here Germany felt that some kind of unjust treatment was put on Germany. So some unjust treaty clauses were imposed on Germany. That was the reason Germany felt humiliated, and Germany had to give up a large part of territory to France, Belgium, Poland and Denmark. Its overseas colonies were divided amongst the allies. The strength of the German army was reduced and the air force was banned. Its Saar coalfield was to be exploited by allies. So that was the reason why the Germany felt humiliated, and this was the reason in Italy and Germany for the rise of dictatorship. That means the dissatisfaction over the Treaty of Versailles. And the second reason is that economic crisis. The prolonged war led to the economic hardship like poverty, unemployment, price rise, etc. Industries and trade declined. There were agrarian riots and strikes in the factories. Germany too faced this post-war economic crisis, and on top of it, it had to pay a huge amount as the war indemnity. War indemnity means war compensation. Almost half of the working population of Germany was unemployed. That means the economic crisis was the second reason for the rise of dictatorship in Germany and Italy. After the First World War, many became unemployed, and a total economic crisis was going on in Germany and Italy and many of the European countries, and there was a hike in the price of rice and other things, and then the poverty and the unemployment was prevailing in the society. So this was the second reason for the rise of dictatorship in Germany and Italy. And failure of the existing government is the third reason. The democratic government in Italy failed to solve the post-war problems of the people. The government under Giolitti failed to control the industrial and agrarian disturbances. In Germany, the Weimar Republic was unable to solve any of the post-war problems. The people were eager to have a strong government which could control chaos and disorder. Chaos means the disorder. Mussolini and Hitler both encashed these troublesome situations to come to power. So after the First World War, total crisis was going on in the society, but the existing government, they couldn't control such a kind of rights and situations prevailing in the society after the First World War. And people felt that everywhere the total chaos and disorder, and people just waited. They were eagerly waiting for a strong government. In such a kind of situation, Mussolini and Hitler, they encashed, that means they used these troublesome situations for what? To come into the power. Okay, that was the third reason. And the fourth reason is that class conflicts. Many scholars are of the opinion that the fascist and the Nazi parties were supported by the landlords, industrialists and big businessmen. The workers were asking for higher wages and a better conditions of work. The industrialists were alarmed at the growing strength of the laborers and they wanted to check the workers. Hence they sponsored financially the dictatorial powers to come to the limelight, because the communist ideology was supporting the laborers, okay, the working class, and on the other hand the landlords or the business class people, they just supported Nazis because Nazis hated communists. So they supported, because of the support from the higher class people, the Nazi party slowly came into power. And the last point, it was charismatic leaders. Charismatic means the most enthusiastic or the magnetic personalities. So here both Mussolini and Hitler had magnetic personality and extraordinary political ability. Okay, that was the fourth reason for the rise of dictatorship in Germany and Italy. Both were having the extraordinary abilities, political and other charismas was there with these two. They possessed tremendous energy and willpower and could easily attract the people through their inspiring speeches. That is the next reason. And people believed in their words and promises. In Italy, Mussolini was popularly known as the Deus, that means leader, and the Germans regarded Hitler as the savior. He assumed the title Führer, that means the leader. After the death of President Hindenburg, Hitler became the president as well as the chancellor of Germany and preferred to be known as the Führer. So that is the fourth reason, the charismatic leaders. The emergence of charismatic leaders led to the rise of dictatorship in Germany and Italy. Now we will see the emergence of Mussolini. The National Fascist Party was set up by Benito Mussolini in 1919 and in late 1920. And the black shirt squads of fascists regularly attacked and burned down local socialist headquarters and tortured socialist councillors. By the end of 1921, Mussolini gained the support of the property owners in general because they regarded him as a protector of law and order. So he burned down all the socialist councillors' houses and their offices, and by 1921 he got enough support from the house owners or the property owners. Why? They considered Mussolini as a protector of law and order. Even the king began to look favorably on the fascists. On 28 October 1922, the fascists staged their march on Rome. About 50,000 black shirts went to Rome. King Victor Emmanuel III invited Mussolini, who had stayed back at Milan, to come to Rome and to form the government, and Mussolini obeyed the order of the king. So that means now Mussolini is getting more power, and he became more popular among people, and people started to think Mussolini as a person who can protect the law and order in the society Very soon he became the real leader of Italy. By 1924, Mussolini developed the Italian government along fascist lines and strengthened his control over the country by mixture of a violence and intimidation. Intimidation means causing fear in other people. Divisions among his opponents helped him a lot. So Mussolini came to power, and the fascist ideologies he started to use in the Italian government, and even the divisions among his opponents helped Mussolini a lot. The next point is the emergence of Hitler and formation of Nazi government. The National Socialist Party or the Nazi Party was formed in 1919 by Adolf Hitler. The Nazis offered national unity and employment by ridding Germany of the Marxists. Okay, so the offer by Nazi government, it was the national unity and employment. So after the First World War, we had seen Germany was facing a great unemployment. In this situation, Nazi government offered employment for all the citizens and the national unity. How? By ridding Germany of the Marxists, by making Germany free from the Marxist ideologies or from the communists. They promised to reverse the unpopular Treaty of Versailles. We had seen Germany and the German people were against the Treaty of Versailles, and here the Nazi government or the Nazi party, Socialist Party under Hitler, they offered one promise that they will reverse the unpopular Treaty of Versailles. They will change. Wealthy landowners and industrialists approved the Nazi policy of hostility to the communists. Why? Here the communists, they always supported the working class, the people, those who used to work. So the landowners or the industrialists or the business people, they were against the poor and the working class people. So in this situation, when the Nazi party was formed, these people, the industrialists and the landowners, they supported Nazi in order to promote the hostility to the communists. Many Germans began to look at Hitler as Messiah. Messiah means savior. Hitler was considered as the savior of Germany. The Nazi party promised the restoration of national pride and strong government. It was their promise. That means they will restore the national pride and at the same time a strong government. The Nazi party had a private army. Esse. Here Esse means Sturmabteilung. Sturmabteilung means it was a private army which recruited young unemployed Germans at a small wage. So it was the private army of the Nazi force, and they recruited young unemployed Germans at a small wage. Thus, due to wide unemployment, social misery and fear of communism, the Nazis gained mass support. What was the reasons for Nazis support? It was because of the wide unemployment, then social misery and the fear of communism. In July 1932, the Nazis were the largest single party. So Nazi party started to become popular among people. But Hitler failed to become the chancellor because the Nazis still lacked an overall majority. Nazi party was becoming very popular. Then also Hitler could not become the chancellor that time. And Papen became the chancellor in May 1932, and a coalition government was formed which could not continue for a long period of time. In January 1933, a group of wealthy businessmen persuaded President Hindenburg to invite Hitler to become the chancellor with the Papen as the vice chancellor. So we had already seen earlier that the business class people or the industrialists or the landowners, they were supporting Hitler. So the same business class people, those who were having influence in the government and the president, they persuaded They just convinced the president to invite Hitler to become the chancellor and making Papen as the vice chancellor. General election was arranged on 5th March 1933. The Nazis, now in power, could use all the apparatus. Apparatus means all the means. Means like, that means the state press, radio, in order to win the majority. Finally, the Nazi got victorious, and consequently, the Nazi rule became the one-man show. One-man show because it was the rule of Hitler. Nazis, they could use all the means for the election, like radio, press and everything. So Nazi won the election very easily, and it was just a one-man show. After the death of President Hindenburg, Hitler combined the two posts of Chancellor and President and became the Chancellor and the President at the same time. That means it was a one-man show. After the death of the President Hindenburg, Hitler, he assumed the power of president and at the same time the power of chancellor. He combined the power of councillor and the power of president and only one power. That means at the same time he was having the power of a president and the chancellor. Okay, that is about the emergence of Hitler and the establishment or formation of the Nazi party. The similarities between fascism and Nazism is given. It is very simple. Both Nazism and fascism were anti-intellectualistic, and both were intensely nationalistic. That means they were promoting, both the parties, fascism and Nazism, they were promoting nationalism, a kind of blind nationalism. Both were anti-democratic. That means a totalitarian government. They were supporting a totalitarian government in which people don't have any power. So it was called an anti-democratic. Both believed in one party or one man rule. That is why in Germany, Hitler was the only person who ruled. He combined the roles of president and chancellor, and he became the only ruler in Germany. The same happened in Italy also. They believed in one party and one man. Both were anti-communistic. Both were against the communist ideologies. Both emphasized aggressive nationalism. That means with violence, promoting nationalism. Both glorified war and believed that international peace is a coward's dream. They considered peace as something coward's dream, and they were not agreeing with the international peace. Both emphasized the supremacy of the state. What is the speciality of the totalitarian government? People don't have any power, but at the same time the state has got more power. Both hated the Jewish race. That is the similarities between fascism and Nazism. Now we will discuss the policies of Mussolini. Here the domestic policy and the foreign policy are discussed here. First of all, the domestic policy. All opponents of the fascist regime had been suppressed. So there is no freedom for the opposition party. It was suppressed. A strict press censorship was enforced, and anti-fascist newspapers, magazines, films, theatres had been banned. Anything which is anti-fascist was banned in Italy. Education in school and colleges was closely supervised. New textbooks were written to glorify the fascist system. So in order to promote the fascist ideologies and fascist system, they used colleges and the schools, and there was a supervision in the schools whether the schools are following any anti-fascist education system. So they only supported the fascist ideologies and the fascist system. And mayor and the elected town councils were abolished, and towns were run by officials appointed from Rome. That means from the capital of Italy, that is Rome. So no election of mayors. the officials for a particular corporation or the council, it was directly elected from Rome or from the higher officials. Strikes and lockouts were not allowed. The union and the employers associations were formed for what? The reason for forming the employers association or the unions were, it is in order to control the workers and to increase the production. By 1934, there were 22 corporations dealing with the industries, and Mussolini hoped to control workers and production. So that is the reason why he promoted the unions and the associations for the employees. It is to control the workers and to increase the production. And Lateran Treaty, it was signed between Mussolini and Roman Catholic Pope Pius XI. And the Pope recognized the Kingdom of Italy, and thus the long-drawn breach between the Church and the Mussolini came to an end. There was a long time breach, a gap between Roman Church and the Italian government. But with this treaty, this long-term breach or gap came to an end. All decisions were taken by the fascist Grand Council, though the parliament was there, and this council was always did as Mussolini told it to do. So all the major decisions were taken by the Grand Council, and the Grand Council, they just obeyed only the words of Mussolini. Whatever told by Mussolini, they obeyed. Industries were encouraged with the government subsidies. That means the business class people or the landowners and the industrialists, they got benefits once Mussolini got power. Next, the second point, it is the foreign policy. Mussolini, after 1934, changed his attitude and fell under the influence of Hitler. He believed that Italy could gain much from friendship with Hitler than with Britain and France. So there is a friendship with Hitler. Italy believed that Italy can make much benefits by making a friendship with Hitler rather than making friendship with Britain or France. The Italian victory over Ethiopia marked the ineffectiveness of collective security of the League members. That means the League of Nations. So it was found that the League of Nations was something ineffective, and that was revealed by Italian victory over Ethiopia. When the Spanish Civil War broke out, he sent help to France to set up another fascist state in Europe. So when there was a war between France and Spain, then he sent help to France for what? In order to make another fascist country in Europe. He joined the Roman Berlin Axis with Hitler. That means Rome is the capital of Italy and Berlin was the capital of Germany. So the Roman Berlin Axis. He joined the anti-Comintern Pact. He joined the anti-Comintern Pact with Germany and Japan against Bolshevism. That means anti-Comintern means against the associations. Comintern means it is an association of communist parties. So he formed a pact or an agreement against all the communist associations, and Japan and Germany against Bolshevism. Bolshevism was supporting the ideologies of communism. Finally, he signed the Pact of Steel. Pact means agreement with Germany and promised military help in case of war. So the last foreign policy, in case of war, Italy offered help to Germany. That is the policies of Mussolini. Two are their domestic and foreign policies. Now we will see the policies of Hitler. Hitler's ideas and programs have been contained in his book Mein Kampf, and it was wrote in prison after the beer hall putsch. Push means it is an illegal action or movement against the existing government. So it is an illegal movement against or to overthrow the existing government. So it is written when he was in jail. The main calf was written when he was in jail and he was in prison for his march in beer hall push. That means the march which set out from the Munich beer hall in which Hitler announced his national revolution. And the policies. First of all, the domestic policy. Hitler followed the policy of forcible coordination to make Germany a totalitarian state. Totalitarian, I told, people don't have any power. So he used force for what? In order to make Germany a totalitarian government. All political parties except the Nazi party were banned, so that Germany became a one-party system. Germany became one-party system and all other parties were banned. Strikes were not allowed. Trade unions were abolished. The education system was controlled and the children could be trained with the Nazi ideas. All the colleges or the schools were under the control of Nazi and only the Nazi ideologies were taught in the schools and the colleges. All communications and the media were controlled by Minister of Propaganda. Propaganda means to pass the information. All the communication and the media were controlled by Minister of Propaganda. The two main aims of Nazis were to remove unemployment and to make Germany a self-sufficient state by boosting export and reducing imports. So two aims: to improve or to remove the unemployment and at the same time to make Germany self-sufficient. How? By increasing export and reducing the imports. Germany became a police state helped by SS, Nazis' private army. SS means the Schutzstaffen. That means it was Hitler's private army and it was originally formed to his personal bodyguard. The SS was originally formed to be the bodyguard of Hitler and SS was the Nazis' private army. And Gestapo. Gestapo here means it is the notorious secret police of the state. Geheime Staatspolizei. That is the Gestapo. It was the notorious secret police to serve the Nazis and in order to suppress the opponent. Religion was brought under the state control. And Hitler's anti-Jewish policy was intended to exterminate the entire Jewish race. They were removed from jobs and business. Hitler's policy was to terminate, to kill all the Jewish people, and he removed all the Jewish people from jobs and business. The Nuremberg laws deprived the Jews of their German citizenship. That means even the German citizenship was denied to the Jewish people. They had to live in the ghettos in isolation from the other people of the town. Ghettos means it is a area or place which is filled with the poverty and all the necessary things are not there. So the Jewish people were compelled to stay in ghettos in isolation from the other people of the towns. The Germans, in order to preserve the purity of the Aryan race, they were not allowed to marry the Jews. I told earlier, the Aryans or the Germans, they promoted the racialism. That means they considered Aryans as the highest race, and in order to keep the purity of the Aryan race, the German people, they were not allowed to marry the Jews. Their shops were looted. That means the shops of Jews were looted, and synagogues means their worship place, were destroyed, and finally they were dumped in the concentration camp. Hitler used Jews as a scapegoats. Scapegoats means the person who is blamed for someone else's error. That means here Jewish people were blamed for all the failure during the First World War and the treaties or the communism or the unemployment. That means the Jewish people became the scapegoats. That means the people, those who are blamed for someone else's error. And Hitler got the final solution by killing the Jews in the gas chambers of the concentration camps. So that was the final solution in order to terminate the Jewish people. What is that? Put the Jewish people in the gas chambers to kill the Jewish people. And next one, it is the foreign policy of Hitler. Hitler preached the gospel of victorious sword. That means preparation for war. Hitler believed that greatness of the nation could only be achieved by war, and therefore, according to Hitler, the entire state must be organized on a military footing. So he violated the term of the Treaty of Versailles and strengthened the armed forces of Germany. So in the Treaty of Versailles, it was clear that Germany was not supposed to make military actions, and Germany was not supposed to maintain the military also. But here Hitler, by making or improving the military strength more, he violated the Treaty of Versailles. So that was the foreign policy. So he glorified the war and he thought of attacking other countries and getting more power. Hitler wanted to make Germany the most important power in the world by disobeying the Treaty of Versailles, building up an army, regaining the lost territories from Poland and Czechoslovakia, where most of the inhabitants were Germans origin. This would give the Germans Lebensraum. So that was the second foreign policy. He wanted to make Germany as the most powerful country in the world, and he wanted to reunite all the Germans, those who were spread everywhere. And Hitler remilitarized Rhineland. He occupied Austria and then demanded Sudetenland from Czechoslovakia. Hitler's concept of pan-German unity meant places where the Germans were living like Germany, Austria, Poland, Czechoslovakia and others should be united under the single state. I told you that he wanted to unite all the Germans, those who were spread everywhere in the world. He formed the Roman Berlin-Tokyo axis. Rome means Italy, Berlin, Germany, Tokyo means Japan. So new alliance was formed with Italy and Japan and signed an anti-comintern pact, against the communism. So that is the end of chapter 13. So here we had seen the rise of dictatorship. There were many causes or reasons for the dictatorship, and mainly it was just an after effect of the First World War. After the World War, many treaties were made, especially the Treaty of Versailles. There, Italy and Germany both were dissatisfied with the treaties, and there was a rise in unemployment, and the conditions of Italy and Germany were pathetic. So these were some of the reasons for the rise of dictatorship, and they followed. Because of that, two ideologies emerged, Nazism and Fascism, and they followed a totalitarian government system, and they had their own foreign policies and the domestic policies in order to make their ideologies clear to the people. So that is the end of the chapter. You may write the question answers from the short answers, any 5, and from the structured questions, any 2 you write. Thank you. Take care.